One of the great things about a guitar is how visual it is in terms of shapes and patterns. A lot of guitar players who've played for many years seem to get around and become really good players simply by just moving shapes around and understanding patterns and visualizing stuff on the fretboard without, in a lot of cases, really knowing a whole lot about where the notes are. And so if you're the kind of guitar player that really wants to know where your notes are on the fretboard, that's certainly one approach, and it's for me and other guitar players, an important one to really get down. It's okay if you're an intermediate beginner guitar player and you really don't care where the notes are. That's not it's not a bad way to go, but if you really want to take it to the next level, you really need to know where the notes are. So I want to kind of use this tutorial to explain that to you slowly, and it's going to be fairly painstaking. There really isn't a magic wand for this, but I'm going to hopefully do it slowly and carefully enough that it should all make sense by the time you're done with it. And the first thing I want to explain is the concept of whole steps and half steps. And so the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, are really what we make the musical alphabet out of. Never an H or any I's or any of that stuff. So it's always A, B, C, D, E, F, and G in terms of the actual notes. And to understand this, we're going to need to understand a concept, another important guitar concept of whole steps and half steps. If you're not familiar with those, a whole step is the distance of 2 frets. So if I were to, let's say, play the 3rd fret on the 6th string to the 5th fret, that would be an example of a whole step up. Or a whole step down would be the opposite, the 5th to the 3rd, or maybe the 3rd down to the 1st fret. Those are whole steps, 2 frets. And a half step, therefore, would be 1 fret. So if I went from the 3rd up to the 4th fret, that's moving up 1 half step. And down, 4th to 3rd, or 3rd to 2nd, down a half step. So whole steps and half steps. And there's a universal pattern that's always true for all musical instruments, at least Western instruments, and that is that A to B, the note A to the note B, is always a whole step. And you might want to write these down if you don't have this memorized already. A to B is a whole step. B to C is always going to be a half step. A C to a D is always going to be a whole step. A D to an E is always a whole step. An E to an F is a half step. An F to a G is a whole step, and a G to an A is a whole step. And so what that means for us, if we're starting with the 6th string, in this case, it's tuned to an open E. And I remember when I started out on guitar, I would kind of be a little confused with that 1st fret. I didn't realize that was a different note entirely than the open string. So when you start with that open 1st string, that E, F being 1 half step above E, as it always is therefore at the 1st fret. So this 1st fret on the 6th string is F. F to G is a whole step, so G is at the 3rd fret. G to A is a whole step, so A is at the 5th fret. A to B is a whole step, so B is at the 7th fret. B to C is a half step. Remember, B to C and E to F are half steps. So therefore C is at the 8th fret, C to D is a whole step at the 10th fret, and D to E is a whole step at the 12th fret. And that 12th fret, we would say, is 1 octave higher than the open string. Remember, this was open E down here, and we got all the way back around to the note E, 1 octave higher at the 12th fret. And so the term octave refers to 8 of something. And what that really means is 8 alphabetic letters that we just covered. E is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 alphabetic letters. And those are the natural notes up and down the 6th string. By natural notes, I mean we're not referring to sharps and flats yet. We'll cover those in a later episode. And those sharps and flats, for your, just so you understand, would be the notes that we skipped over as we went up. So from F to G, we obviously skipped that 2nd fret, which we'll talk about later. And so that's the 6th string notes. Again, E, F, G, A at the 5th fret, B at the 7th fret, C at the 8th fret, D at the 10th fret, and E at the 12th fret. And you could do that as a simple exercise, both up and down the string, calling the notes out loud. If you do that, maybe a minute a day, it would pay off. After a week, you'd know it cold. And for the next episode, we'll look at the next string, the 5th string.
Hi, this is Alex Lifeson of Rush, and today we're going to work on the Spirit arrangement. It starts at the F sharp, which is the 2nd fret on the high E string, and it's